Please help me and the department by a standing ovation to welcome Mayor Lovely A. Warren.
Thank you. Good evening. So excited to be with you this evening. I want to acknowledge and pay respect to the mayor of Brockport, Mayor Margaret Blackman, for being here and joining us this evening, as well as to my good friend Dean Roosevelt Marius, Dr. Joel Frater, of course, Mount Olivet Baptist Choir, and to Reverend Owens and Dr. Kurtz. Thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank Dr. Mara for that kind introduction, and thank you to the College of Brockport's Department of African and African American Studies for hosting this event. I want to also acknowledge my great friend and mentor, Judge Roy King. And thank you, Dr. Halstead, for your kind words. I would like to congratulate you on your upcoming retirement. For 10 years, you have been a crucial voice for Brockport students. You have touched thousands of lives because of your passion for education and your dedication to student success. This college has some big shoes to fill. When I reviewed the past speaker list, I was definitely a little bit intimidated. After Dr. McMickle, Maya Angelou, and Nikki Giovanni, I thought to myself, what in the world will I talk about? How do I fit on the same stage as those incredible trailblazers, the stage that they once graced? But there is so much that I could talk about when it comes to Dr. King and his legacy, and I believe that nothing is more important than engaging the next generation of leaders, because today's challenges are too great to face alone. I had the opportunity to see the movie Selma recently. And if you have not seen the movie, I recommend you take time to go see it. The most powerful part of that movie to me was Dr. King's discernment. It came through the screen, and at times, I wonder, what would it have been like to live during those times? What would I have said? What group would I have been a part of? Would I have been afraid to walk across that bridge? Could I stand in the face of adversity? But you know, something is happening right now in this country. A new civil rights movement, a movement we should all want to be a part of. Much like the civil rights movement, the passion and drumbeat for change has the potential to shape our country for generations. Each and every one of us will have the opportunity to be a part of this movement. And I think Dr. King would want us to be united, holding hands. Right now, as I think we all describe our societal crises a little differently, but I believe the key issue at hand is the miseducation of our impoverished children. Too many of our children are not getting a fair shot at being successful in life from the very beginning. It is our obligation to right this ship for the benefit of the next generation, because no one rises to low expectations. Many people proclaim that poverty is the reason why some of our children cannot learn. But I'm not one of those people. I do not just speak theoretically about poverty. I lived it. I see it every day. I want to tell you a story about a young girl that I know who grew up in Rochester's northeast quadrant. She was in foster care by the age of 3. She ran away from home and was in and out of juvenile detention centers. She was placed on probation by family court. At one point, She stood in the courtroom with shackles on her hands and her feet because the authorities thought that she was a flight risk. She had a baby at the age of 17. But this young lady ended up going to college and followed that up by attending law school and attaining her Juris Doctorate. She became a prosecutor. Many people had wrote this young lady off, not only because she was poor, but also because of where she came from. Her zip code was 14609. I want to tell you a story about a young man that I know who grew up in the projects in the heart of the city's crescent. Even today, it is the poorest neighborhood in the city. He wasn't an exceptional student, but he grew up in a single-parent household with a mother who struggled with her own demons, and he ultimately participated in many of the unhealthy activities that so many of our urban youth are drawn to. But this young man ultimately worked his way through college, earned a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and then a doctorate degree. He is now one of the biggest advocates for changing how we educate our children in our city. But many people would have written him off because he was poor. Growing up, his zip code was 14605. I want to tell you a story about a young lady who grew up in the city's southwest quadrant. Her mother had to become the breadwinner in the family when her father became addicted to drugs and was in and out of their life. She started having trouble in school because of her anger and would fight and get suspended often. This young lady ultimately overcame her circumstances and went on to college and then to law school. But many people would have written her off because she was poor. And growing up, her zip code was 14619. Sadly, these types of success stories are too often the exception. For many young people today, their zip code determines their future. Too many people believe that poverty is why our young people are not successful in life. And for some reason, we have made ourselves think that being poor means standards and expectations should be lowered. But I've just given you 3 examples of people who grew up in some of the poorest neighborhoods in our city, but they refused to be a victim of their circumstances. They still had the ability to learn. They still wanted and strived to be successful. Was poverty a factor? Absolutely. Do we have to find ways to help our children who grow up in poverty? Absolutely. But poverty cannot become an excuse for failure. It cannot be the reason we point to when our children are not educated. You see, the 3 people that I just talked to you about today, they are Rochester City Court Judge Caroline Morrison, Dr. Leonard Brock, Program Manager for the Children's Agenda, and yes, Mayor Lovely Warren from the City of Rochester. Despite where we started, despite our zip codes, we are now leaders in our city, fighting for change. If we are honest, the debate about education reform has largely been about a debate about, quote unquote, other people's children. And let's be clear, when I say other people, I mean poor parents, impoverished parents. The policymakers and pundits, community leaders, and yes, the politicians too, are quick to ask these other parents to be patient while they fix their schools. Urban schools are more likely to be dangerous, more likely to be staffed by inexperienced and ineffective people, less likely to have the enrichment and extracurricular activities that we know help students survive. They're quick to ask other parents to be patient with schools that many would never in a million years send their children to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today on behalf of those other parents. I'm here fighting for those other parents' children. I am here because I know that if Dr. King was alive today, he too would say that we are miseducating our impoverished children. And something must be done. And someone must stand up for those families, those children, and those parents. And I am looking at the someones. I am looking at you. Wars against injustice have started with the young, educated college students. Think about the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement in the 1960s. You have the power, the tenacity to look adversity in the face and tell it to move out of the way. Your time to make a difference is now. Like with any mayor who speaks about education, there has been a lot of speculation about my education philosophy. So let me be clear. I believe we must develop one single standard of educational quality, one standard of effective teaching, one standard of student expectations and discipline. I believe in one single standard for all of our students, whether they attend public, charter, or private school, whether they are rich or poor, black, brown, or white. I'm not naive. Chipping away at this double standard cemented in our public education system will be hard work, thankless work, and at times, bloody work. If it hasn't dawned on you yet, I'm here today to hand you a chisel and ask you to join me in this work. Like many who joined with Dr. King, education is the heart of many of the city of Rochester's problems, and also our solutions. Education is the linchpin upon which everything else revolves. The success of our children, the stability of our neighborhoods, public safety, and our economic future. And then when it comes to education in Rochester and many cities across this state and our country, there is a universal agreement that we are in a crisis. So just how bad is this crisis? The statistics are dire, and the numbers don't lie. In Rochester, less than 50% of our children graduate from high school on time. Of that, just 5% are ready for college. And many who start college drop out before completion. National statistics show that 7,000 children drop out of high school each day in our country. That's almost the entire population of this school. 7,000 teenagers across our country leave high school every day without ever getting a chance to wear a cap and a gown, and many have no intention of going back. That's over 1 million people every year who decide that school is not a place for them. Unfortunately, many have given up hope and feel that life has dealt them a bunch of lemons and they can't cope. They forget that many people have fought and died for their ability to be educated, yet they still choose to walk away. We have to give them hope for tomorrow. You, and yes, I mean you, could very well help the next person, someone of the next generation, make a different choice in their life. I need you to reach back into your neighborhoods and communities. Government, we can't fight this battle alone. You see, too many of our children know the neighborhood drug dealer and not the neighborhood college student. So when you go home for spring break, visit your old school, your old recreation center. Take the time to show the next generation that college is a real, achievable dream. I don't know your stories, but I know that since you are in this room, you decided to do something different with your lives. You decided to pursue higher education. Many young people and adults may not see this as a viable option. It is up to you to prove them wrong. You have to show them by leaving this campus and becoming teachers, coaches, mentors, and role models. Show them that no matter where you are in life, that you can choose a different path. You can show them that they don't have to finish where they started. My grandfather, before his death, lived on Jefferson Avenue, a street in one of Rochester's most challenged neighborhoods, for over 60 years. He lived next to a corner store, and for many years I sat and I watched young girls and boys go in and out of the corner store. And many times there were drug pushers hanging out front. And they would give the child a couple dollars and say, go buy yourself something to eat. That same transaction is happening in many of our communities today. If you pay close attention, I want you to notice that these young people are being prepared for something. And believe me, it's not for life as a productive citizen. Many of our children know all too well the code of the streets, but not the code to a productive life. Just like many of those drug pushers are preparing our young people to take over their business, we must be willing to fight just as hard for them to become the next mayor, the next college student, the next professor, or the next CEO. It is our job to ensure that our kids have access to a productive life by creating an educational system that is truly equal for all. Poor people will always be with us, but it's how we deal with our poor and impoverished that will define our time. What will we be known for? What will the history books say about us? I think that Dr. King would want us to collectively work together to equalize the institutional injustices that plague our nation, to take seriously the concerns of our urban youth, to take seriously the concerns of concentrated poverty and poor public school performance, to take seriously how we deal with sexual assaults on college campuses, to take seriously discrimination against people of color, against women, against lesbians, gays, bisexual, and transgender individuals, against people of certain religious persuasions. Dr. King would want us to recognize that these are not just the concerns of other people in other cities, which don't affect us where we live, right here and right now. These are the concerns of every human being that has a heart. Dr. King would want us to recognize that this is not about other people. This is about each and every one of us. And each and every one of us must stand up and fight and do something in order to make this world a better place. We must build bridges to success rather than barriers to defeat. So I implore you all to be like Dr. King and get involved. Do not be afraid to get in the game. Don't just sit on the sidelines and allow other people to do the work and complain when it is not done to your satisfaction. Dr. Martin Luther King said, never, never be afraid to do what's right, especially if it's the well-being of a person or animal is at stake. Society's problems and punishments are all small compared to the wounds we will inflict on our own soul when we look the other way. When it comes to the education of our impoverished children, we can no longer afford to look away, no matter what zip code that person may come from. Thank you all, and have a good night. Again, thank you for this opportunity. And as I stated earlier, I am available to answer any questions that anyone may have. Yes, sir? Can you wait for the mic, because I can't hear you, sir?
There's two questions I want to ask you, Mayor. I'm a student here at Brockport. I'm studying on the African American Study program.
You talking to the mic, sir? I still can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm a student here at Brockport. I'm studying under the African American Study program. Anyway, there's two things I want to ask you about police brutality inside the city of Rochester. I mean, if you could see it on YouTube, how much the police are abusing some of the blacks in the neighborhood that I come from. I mean, of course, other people should be able to see it in the government itself. And another thing, I think that some of the programs, some of the curriculums that our city school have doesn't cover some black history. It only, you only hear about black history one time in a year, But I think it should be in every school system in the United States, especially in Rochester. Now, as you are mayor, being that you're a mayor, I hope someday, somehow, somebody can put that in the curriculum inside the city school district. Because what's happening with our youth, they're not recognizing where we came from as a people.
Thank you, sir. The question was in regards to what's happening with policing in the city of Rochester, and we are working really hard to improve our police and community relations. One of the programs that we've started together is Clergy on Patrol, where our pastors and our police officers go door to door together in our communities to hand out information and encourage people to utilize the resources that we have available to them. And that's been a very, very successful program, and we will continue to work to make sure that we are improving our relationship. Our police department can't do it alone, and our community can't survive by itself. It is a joint relationship, and we're working hard to make sure that everyone is being served accordingly. Any additional questions?
Hi, Mayor Warren. I recently had a chance to see you speak at Kathy Hochul's presentation on the Opportunity 2015 agenda, which is an anti-poverty effort in the city of Rochester. Wanted to know if students from Brockport wanted to get involved in that effort, what options would there be?
That anti-poverty task force has not been named, but I will definitely let the organizers know that students from Brockport would like to participate. Thank you for attending that announcement. The governor will, of course, be here tomorrow to talk a little bit more about the opportunity agenda as he moves forward with the state. But I think that it's important that we recognize that poverty and dealing with poverty is something that we can solve. And we need everybody, all hands on deck to do that. And so if you're interested in that, I'll make sure that Jessica Alamo, my communications liaison, gets your information so that we can let them know.
I just had a quick question. With the recent controversies with Sanctuary Village, I wondered if you had any plans in the next year to help the homeless in Rochester, any kind of broad plans that you'd like to speak about or anything?
Yeah, did you read the paper today?
I didn't see it today, no.
Oh, well, the Democrat and Chronicle, we had a great article about Sanctuary Village. We were able to get a temporary solution, and we're working with, of course, the House of Mercy to come up with a permanent solution for our hard-to-serve homeless population. And so the goal is to make sure that we have a housing first model. We have been working on this for over a year now with many of our homeless providers. We have a homeless consortium that have been meeting for a long time to try and deal with this issue. But we recognize that we have a hard-to-serve population that don't necessarily want the services that we have in place. And so currently we're working to solve that issue. But today, last week we opened up a new place that's inside, that's warm for this population, that will be open for the rest of the winter, and then we'll look forward to solving this problem permanently for our community.
Hello, Mayor Warren. My name is Arthur Brooks, and I'm a proud graduate of Edison Tech. My zip code is 14609, and you don't know my issues, but I come from poverty myself, so I'm very
Congratulations.
proud to see you. Thank you, thank you. I'm graduating in May. And I am a first college student in my family. But my question is, what are the focus points for the budget for vocational training at Edison Tech? I'm very concerned about the school and the major changes that have been made over time. Can you talk about the budget at Edison Tech and what are your concerns?
So the mayor does not have control over the schools, but I know specifically about this issue because the superintendent and Wegmans just presented to a group of stakeholders on Edison Tech specifically. And they have a goal of making it a true career tech school. And so they will go back to offering all those programs that they used to offer to students so that our students have an alternative. If they don't necessarily see college as an option for them, that they can go to Edison Tech and build that career, get career information, and also get professional guidance into a specific career that they may want to go into when they graduate from high school. That will, of course, include our programming that we offer at the city in regards to our police, fire, 911, as well as EMT courses. And so they're working really hard to make sure that career tech is offered to high school students in the city of Rochester. Absolutely, and they understand that, and that's why they're working towards that now. May not offer the same programs like aviation and other things that they previously had there, but it's going to offer careers that students can go into for today's market for workforce.
Hello, Mayor Warren. How are you? And thank you so much for coming out to the college at Brockport. I have been talking in my department, Department of Communication, and with several other people about the possibility of doing something with the city school district that is dramatic and profound. I am really intrigued by the relationship that the University of Rochester seems to have cultivated with the city school district and East High. And I wonder, and I know you don't control the schools, but I wonder if you see that a similar opportunity could exist for the college at Brockport, where we could be responsible for a school and teach on multiple levels. Not only prepare the college students here to become teachers and become involved in civic engagement and service education, but also provide opportunity for young students who happen to be in the City School District of Rochester. I'd like to know your thoughts about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. I think that the City School District is open to many different options when it comes down to exposing children to different opportunities. And so I would encourage the College of Brockport, if that is something that you want to do, to reach out to the school district and reach out to the superintendent to start those discussions now. I'm not sure if anyone heard the governor's state of the state address, but I think that even the state government is going to be open to different ways to deal with our urban education system across the state. And that would mean that schools and colleges and universities will have an option to be part of the solution in dealing with what's happening with our children. As you heard it in the speech, we're in a crisis, and all hands need to be on deck to solve this problem. And so whatever options or suggestions you have, I would definitely reach out to them at this point in time. But I think that we need to do whatever we can to help our children that are currently enrolled in our educational system.
Good evening, Mayor Warren. To piggyback on this young gentleman's statement, this morning I was listening to the best radio station in the world, WDKX, and they were talking about Councilman McFadden was on there with a mayor from, no, with a gentleman from Kansas City or somewhere, where you're saying the president has allocated grants for vocational studies, and I was just wondering if you heard that from Adam, if you guys can get together, maybe that's something that we can push for to get those vocational monies to get into the schools.
Right. Again, we used to educate every child as if they were going to college, and we realize and recognize that that's not true. Every child does not see college as an option for them, and so you want to give them an alternative, because if you can get them to graduate and receive a high school diploma, then they can make a choice on if they want to continue on and go to college or go into the workforce. And so not only is the president and the state of New York, but also locally, as I said, our city school district is moving towards that model of making sure that we're offering those vocational opportunities to our students. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is April. I'm a communications major. My question is about mentorship. I was at an event you were at back in the fall where they were talking about lack of mentors for specifically young black men. As a mother of a young black man, or boy, I should say, he's not a man yet, I just wanted to know the information about what the city has incorporated as far as mentors for the youth, and if people want to be involved, how do they become involved?
We are currently working on our Black Male Achievement, part of the president's My Brother's Keeper initiative. The person that's heading that up is Jermaine Myers, who is in the back, who works on my staff. And we will roll out that program. We wanted to make sure that we have all of the deliverables and everything lined out before we actually launched. So we have a team of people that have been working on that, specifically the My Brother's Keepers initiative. And so if you could see him at the end, he could give you additional information about that. You're welcome.
How you doing, Mayor Warren? I just became aware of some exciting work that's happening in City Hall with the new Office of Innovation, and wanted to know if you could talk about that a little bit.
So we started in September of this past year. We opened up an Office of Innovation to vet new innovative ideas for how we could actually run the city of Rochester, or how we can help businesses that actually want to start in our city grow. And so this office recently received a $1.9 million grant from the Bloomberg Foundation. And they are going to look at specifically issues surrounding poverty and how we can deal with that. We have a team that's headed to Cleveland this month to look at market-driven co-ops, and that market-driven co-op model will look at trying to go into a neighborhood and a specific census tract and see how we can move poverty by 1% in that neighborhood. How many people in this neighborhood needs to earn X number of dollars in order to move poverty by 1% in that neighborhood. We want to look at it this way because we don't believe that this is a problem that we can solve for the entire city of Rochester at once. We needed to start off small, and this grant will give us the opportunity to do that. We have gone from being 11th in the nation in childhood poverty to 7th to 5th and now to 3rd. We have to stem the tide some way, somehow. And what we have been doing is not working. And we are taking a step back. We're looking at it from a fresh set of eyes, and we're looking for the nation's best and brightest to come in and think about this in a way that government typically doesn't think about, innovation and how we don't usually work on these types of problems. When you typically think about a city budget, you talk about, making sure that the snow is cleared, making sure that you have police services and fire services and those essential services to your constituents. But so much of the city's success is based upon what we do around our poverty, around education, and around our safety. And we have to start looking at this in an innovative way, and this office will specifically look towards that. And we're using other people's money to do it, so that's always a good thing, too. Yes?
Hi, Mayor. Hello, you here? Okay. Hi, Mayor Lovely Warren. I'm Brianna Scott. I'm a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. I'm from here, though, originally.
Can you talk in the mic a little bit? I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm Brianna Scott. I'm a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, and I came back home, and I'm working here now. But one thing I've noticed here, and just the level of violence, and I'm coming from, I live in a city, and I'm also riding a bus, and trying to avoid different situations as far as the violence with the young fellas that happen. And how are you going to, or the city, going to further prevent those situations so we don't have, less tragedy with the police versus young men?
So in March of 2015, we are moving to a new policing model, which would return our police officers from their current structure, which is a two-section police model where they're just responding to calls, 911 calls, over and over again, to a model where they would get an opportunity to actually build relationships with the people that live in the neighborhoods and talk about where the problem houses are and talk to the business owners. We believe that this new policing model will help us be able to build those community relations that we need in order to reduce crime. Now, I'm proud to say that we have been able to reduce crime by double digits in this past year. And we'll talk more about that at the State of the City next week. But we still have more work to do because perception is reality. And we need to be able to deal with that. And we believe that in March of 2015, when we launched this new model of policing and police reorganization, that it will help with our issues around crime, and also it will have more police officers in the neighborhood so you see them more often, and that also deters crime. This gentleman right here had his hand up.
Hello.
Okay.
How you doing, Mayor?
I'm fine.
First of all, I'd like to say I'm part of that clergy on patrol thing, and it's starting to work really good, and I want to thank you for starting that program. But I just want to ask, I've been hearing so much about East High School. Are they planning on closing that school?
Okay. No, they are not closing East High School. That is the program that Carvin was talking about a minute ago, that the University of Rochester will be taking over East High School, and they will make it part of their programming. And we're hopeful that they are successful, because it's a new model that we're trying here in the city of Rochester, and we need to try new and innovative approaches to educating children. And I believe that this one is one that could very well work. So they will not be closing East High School. It will go under new management. This gentleman, you had your hand up for a while, yes? And then I'll come back to you. We're taking 2 questions. Yes. Okay, so we'll take 3 questions, and we'll end with it. All right.
Hi. Here at the College of Brockport, we have a leadership development program. How important do you think it is for students on all levels of education to learn leadership skills?
Well, I think that it's very important to learn leadership skills. And I would also encourage you to do internships. If you have not started to apply for internships, I think that that over the summertime and also winter break, that it's important to go out and try the field and get a job in the field that you are looking to pursue. Because you can find out if you really want to do that, if you want to do something different. It was an internship that actually led me to the place that I am in today. Had it not been for a professor when I was in college that encouraged me to do an internship in the New York State Assembly, I would have not have met Assemblyman David Gant and been exposed to a different side of the law. I always thought that I would be a prosecutor, so I knew I wanted to be an attorney, but by doing this internship, I was able to see the governmental side of law. And that led me down a completely different path. So I encourage all the college students to make sure over the summertime, even if you're not in a paid internship, that you take the time out to get involved and do an internship in the field of study that you are looking to go into.
Mayor Warren, thank you for coming out here tonight and providing a
I can't hear you.
motivational speech. And just want to say it was a fantastic speech. My question is basically, you said growing up there was poverty. Poverty is temporary, depending on the change of mind for an individual. My 3 questions are, how are you willing to make a change? What are you willing to do? And how you raise the funds to change poverty?
Can you read those questions again? I couldn't hear you.
You said growing up there was poverty. Poverty is temporary, depending on change of mind for an individual. My questions are as follows. How are you willing to make a change? What are you willing to do? And how would you raise funds to change poverty?
So if I heard you correct, it's what am I willing to do to change poverty? What am I willing to do is I was willing to run for mayor and challenge and go up against the status quo to lead this city to change poverty. So first, I was willing to get in the game. The second is the plan. Really looking at poverty and looking at what we're doing to change how we deal with our poor people in a new and innovative way. I'll be honest with everyone about the fact that Rochester is program rich and results poor. What does that mean? If you have a problem in the city of Rochester, we have a program that is meant to solve it. But for some reason, those programs are not connecting and not aligned so that we can actually change the outcomes that's happening in our community. One of the issues is starting to ask the question for me, and I'm not just asking externally, I'm asking internally as well. If we deal with, recently I had some key staff in regarding teenage pregnancy and our results around teenage pregnancy. And I said to them, how long have we been doing this program? They said, we've been doing it for 5 years. I said, where's the child that we served 5 years ago? You can tell me if this program is successful if the 200 kids that you served 5 years ago have not had a baby, are in college, or in the workforce. If you can't tell me that, then this program is not successful. And so we have to start looking at the results and holding people accountable for the results. Because a lot of programs start with a specific mission. And then, over time, the survival of the program becomes more important than the mission. And so we can't lose sight of that. So you have to be willing to get in the game. Second, you have to be willing to call people accountable, to hold people accountable. But third, you also have to be willing to take a step back, look at what you're doing, and reevaluate and reassess. And if what you're doing isn't working, then you need to try something different. Thank you. Last question, yes, ma'am.
Yes. Hi, my name is Brenda Kane, and I live in the city of Rochester. One of the things that I am very concerned about, and I see it every day as I'm driving around in the city, I noticed that for the last few years there has been a substantial amount of street work, construction, transport. Understand what I'm saying about the streets. And I noticed that, and I tell my husband this all the time, as I'm driving around, I see so many of our young black men standing around doing nothing. But I see in their neighborhood who's working. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering to myself, I'm thinking, I know how they feel. This is my neighborhood. You don't live here, but you are the ones that are working. Here I am standing on the corner with nothing to do. So I'm wondering, what is the plan for the city to make some of these jobs available to the young black men in this city of Rochester?
We have a new program called Operation Transformation Rochester. A lot of our young people that have made a decision to drop out of high school, they don't know how to come back. And we assume that they know, how to come back. How do I change my life? If I want to go back to school and get my GED or my task, how do I do that? If I want to change my life and get a job, who's there to show me how to do that? And so we started a program with REOC, and Dean Marius is here, called Operation Transformation Rochester, that actually shows them how to do that, gives them a mentor to walk them through that process. But let me be clear, they have to want to do the work. It's not easy. And so if you start down this path, we're going to be with you, we're going to hold your hand, and we're going to be your biggest cheerleader. But you have to want to change, because we can take people to the water, but we cannot make them drink it. So that's the first thing. Another program that we have is we're working on project labor agreements with our unions for the Midtown site as well as the Port of Rochester site. Those project labor agreements require certain workforce goals as well as minority and women business goals, and the contractor has to comply with them. Happy to say that our goals at Midtown are off the charts and have been met. On other projects like our street construction projects, we haven't made it to that place yet where we are requiring a PLA. We're trying to figure out a way to do that because there's some strict requirements around project labor agreements, but we're working on it. Thank you all. Please have a good night.